Hello, my name is Peter Milton and I am the developer of TimeChainage. This video is part of a series where I show you some of the more common features of TimeChainage. Today we will look at project details and preferences. When you start a new project in TimeChainage, the very first thing you should do is enter the project details and review your preferences. You can of course modify these settings at any stage. Let's get started. I have a blank project open in TimeChainage which we can use for this demonstration. The only things I have done are set a chart range, shown non-work periods and added date labels and a date grid. We enter project details and preferences in the project details form. We can access the project form from the data menu and select project. Or else we can get to it from the toolbar. The toolbar is quicker, so let's open it from here. At the top of the form we enter some project details. First we enter the project name. Let's call this one Underground HV Cable Project. You can enter a description if you wish. I will enter example project for a tutorial. Next is the project start date. This is the date any activities without predecessors or constraints will start on. No activity can start earlier than this date. So for example, this can be set to the contract award date or maybe the date you have access to site. We will put in 1st of April 2025. The project end date will be calculated automatically. Once you start entering activities into the schedule, this date will represent the finish date of the last activity. Then you can enter your name as the planner. I'll put in Peter Milton. By doing this, if in the future someone else opens the project, they will know who to give full credit to if it's a great program, or else who to blame if it isn't. Next we will look at the project preferences. First, in the chart format section, we can change the default line width. This is the width of the chart activity lines. This is in pixels and the best width will depend on your printer and the size of the print you want to make. The width to use for your chart is best found through experiment. This is only the default width and you can specify different widths in the work breakdown structure and in the activity codes. For now I will leave it at 10 pixels. The screen font size is for the computer display only. For printing, the font size is defined in the annotation controls, which we will look at in another video. By clicking on the inverted arrow on the selection box, you will get a drop-down list of sizes to choose from. I will set the size to medium. The logic link arrow size is also only for the computer display. The size used for printing is determined automatically. Again, there is a drop-down list of sizes to choose from. I will select medium. In the decimal places shown section, we can specify the number of decimal places shown in the various forms for production rate, duration, length and chainage. This does not affect the precision of the calculations, only the displayed values. I will keep the default values of 2, 1 and 3. The chainage unit can be specified. It is not used by TimeChainage in any way, but serves two purposes. One is as a reminder to anyone who opens the project file, and the second is that the chainage unit can be shown on the chart when printed. The default value is linear meters. I will leave it as it is. In the plan form, there are two user-defined fields. They can be text or number fields. Most of the options here in the project form can be changed at any time, but these two values should be set before you enter any data into these fields. If you change the data type from text to number after you have entered data, you will lose all of the data in that field. By default, they are set as text fields. We will set field 1 as number and leave field 2 as text. Go into the scheduling options section. The planned and actual forms are where the activities are created. Checking these options will cause TimeChainage to automatically schedule when you leave the associated form. If you have a slow computer and a really large schedule, then you may consider turning the auto schedule off to save having to wait for the scheduling to complete. It's a good safety measure though, in case you forget to schedule after making some changes. We will keep these options checked. You can highlight the critical path on the chart. If you want, you can define the critical path as being something other than 0 days total float. You do that here in the critical path section. We will leave it at the default value of 0 days. The planned tasks section deals with the situation if you have planned activities that are not a full number of days in duration. The duration of a linear activity is calculated in TimeChainage by dividing the length of the task by the production rate. So, for example, a task that is 51 meters long and has a production rate of 10 meters per day will have a duration of 5.1 days. By default, any successor activities with a finish to start relationship will commence immediately after it finishes and on the same day. This is the default option, true duration and start as soon as possible. This Gantt chart will help explain how this works. The other options are true duration and start on next working day. So for our example, the activity will remain at 5.1 days, but any successor will commence on the next working day instead of immediately. Round duration to nearest full day. In our example, the task will reduce from 5.1 days to 5 days, and the successor will commence on the next working day. There is some program risk with this option. Round duration up to full day. In our example, the duration will be increased from 5.1 days to 6 days, and the successors will commence on the next working day. This option prevents any program risk. We will leave it on the default option of true duration and start as soon as possible. We have now entered the project details and set our preferences, so we will exit the project form by clicking the OK button. I will quickly demonstrate some of the preferences so you can see what they do. First, I will open the Work Breakdown Structure form. We do this from the toolbar by clicking on the WBS button. In the project form, we set the default line width to 10 pixels. We can see that the default WBS value has a line width of 10 for both planned and actual activities. Let's give this value a name, say Site Establishment. We will now add a new value by pressing the Add Row button, and the line width is 10 for this item as well. Let's call this value Trenches, and we will change the planned and actual line widths to 20. We will also change the colour to brown. If we add another WBS value, the line width will default back to our set value of 10 again. Let's change this one to 5 and name the value Pipework. We will give it a colour, let's say orange. We will leave the WBS form and add a couple of planned activities to demonstrate some more of the preferences. We open the plan form from the button on the toolbar. For the first activity, we will call it Excavate Trench. The WBS will be Trenches. Chainage from will be 0, and chainage to will be 150. Production rate 16 meters a day. We will use the default 5-day calendar here and make use of the project start date we set in the project details. If we do not enter any predecessors or start constraints, the activity will start on the project start date of 1st of April 2025. We will add a second task and call it Install Bedding and Pipes. The WBS will be Pipework. Chainage from will be 0, and chainage to will be 75 meters. The production rate will be 20 meters a day, and we will set the predecessor to activity 1. To see the user-defined columns, I will hide the activity code columns and make the form a bit wider. As you can see, we have a number field and a text field, which we set in the project preferences. I'll enter 50,000 in the number field for task 1 and 35,500 for task 2. The next field I will treat as comments about the number field and enter budget price for task 1 and cheapest quote for task 2. We will not press the schedule button, but instead exit the form using the close button on the toolbar. You can see the two activities, but first we will reopen the plan form again to check the dates. As we can see, task 1, without any constraints or predecessors, has indeed started on the 1st of April as we set in the project details. We can also see from the dates of both activities that the program has been scheduled. This is because we set the option to automatically schedule when the plan form is closed. The overall duration of task 1 is 9.4 days and it finishes part way through 14th of April. Its successor, task 2, also starts on the 14th of April, as in the project preferences we set the option to true duration and start as soon as possible. We can also see in the table and details panel that any lengths are displayed to 3 decimal places, rates to 2 decimal places, and durations to 1 decimal place. Any of the forms that show these units will also display the same way. Let's exit the plan form and return to the chart view. We set the size of the chart text in the project preferences to medium. The actual size shown will depend on the resolution of your monitor, but you can also change the settings as desired. Let's show the relationship lines. We do this from the chart setup dialog. We get there from the format menu and select chart setup. From the logic links tab, we check the show logic links tick box, then click OK. The size of the arrow will depend on the setting in project preferences and the resolution of your monitor. The line widths for the two activities shown should be different, but appear to be the same. This is because by default, the screen view line widths are constrained to a maximum of 2 pixels wide. If we go to the print preview, we can see that the line widths are indeed different. The trenching is set to 20 pixels wide, and the pipework is set to 5. Let's exit the preview and make one final check. From the chart we can see that the install bedding and pipes activity starts partway through the 14th of April, immediately after the first task is completed. This is due to the planned task setting we chose in the project form. Let's just try one other setting. We open the project form and let's set the option to true duration and start on next working day. We exit the project form. To see the change, we must reschedule the program. We open the plan form and press the schedule button on the toolbar. We exit the plan form, and now the bedding and pipes activity starts first thing on the 15th of April. I'm sure you get the picture, so I won't go through the other options. Remember, entering the project details and setting the preferences should be the first thing you do when you start a new project in TimeChainage. I hope this video has helped explain what all the options do, and thank you for watching. TimeChainage, adding an extra dimension to your schedules.